welcome back to my channel, My Beautiful Mess. My name is Amber and I just had my first home birth and I'm so excited to share it with you. It's the best birth and labor I have ever had. It was so amazing and God was so good. So today is the 5th day postpartum. Ezekiel's 5 days old, and so 5 days ago, Saturday, I was 39 weeks pregnant. And Saturdays are cleaning day here, so I was cleaning. I wasn't pushing myself or anything, but we were cleaning and getting jobs done. And I also decided to, because of the nice weather, my kids wanted me to switch out spring, summer clothes. So I did that, and that was quite a task. So that took, I think, a lot out of me, but I didn't intentionally try to work or be busy. I was just trying to get things done before the baby came. And I ended up losing my mucus plug Saturday afternoon. Steve and I went to bed Saturday night at, yes? You okay? All right, Steve and I went to bed Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. and I couldn't sleep. I had a lot of cramping and Ezekiel was moving all over the place, which was more uncomfortable and more painful than the cramping that was going on. So I just couldn't sleep. About midnight, I got up to go to the bathroom. At midnight, I got up to go to the bathroom and I had a strong contraction. And so I urinated and ended up having bowel movement, got back into bed, and 15 minutes later had another one. Or had to go to the bathroom again, so went to the bathroom, sat on the toilet, lots of pressure, urinate, go poo-poo. And I started to feel shaky and uneasy as I knew what my body was starting to do. I was going into labor. Even after just those 2 contractions, I knew. So climbed back into bed, tried to settle down, not knowing how they were going to go or pick up. And 12:30, the same thing. So I went to the bathroom real quick. I didn't want to get off the toilet, but I knew I had to wake Steve up and I had to call my midwife. So I woke Steve up at 12:30, called my midwife, told her that I had had 3 powerful contractions, about 15-20 minutes apart. And she said that, or she asked me if my labor had ever progressed that fast before, from 20 minutes apart in an hour to go to like 5 minutes apart. And I said no, because they hadn't. But I also didn't go to the hospital till my contractions were about 5 minutes apart. And then the hospital drives an hour and a half, so my labor would stall. My body kind of went in the fight or flight mode, and labor would stop by the time I got to the hospital. And so I would have to take a nap and do some breast stimulation to get things rolling again. And then they were different bits and pieces of different hours. Those are in other videos. So she said, all right, well, try to rest as much as you can tonight. I don't think he's going to come. Rest, sleep as much as you can, and then if things are progressing, let me know the next day. And so I said okay, and within the next 20 minutes of getting off the phone with her, I could not get off the toilet, and I was having contractions 7 minutes apart, 4 minutes apart, and 2 minutes apart. And so I'd had 5 and 30 minutes, and I called her again, and I said, it's the real deal. I need you to come. And she said, okay. So at this point, Steve and I start preparing the bed. We have our normal sheet down. Actually, we have a mattress pad anyways. A mattress pad, our normal sheet. Then we added our shower curtain and the top sheets and everything for the bed for afterbirth, or if I wanted to change my mind and deliver on the bed. I set up frankincense and lavender in my diffuser, and Steve started doing the tub preparations. I got in bed and kind of zoned in. My contractions were very strong and very back to back. They almost didn't let up. It wasn't like they would go away and I would get a new one. It was just a constant. They would have stronger peaks, but it was just constant. So I laid in bed and Steve woke Chloe up at, so let's see. Yeah. All right. So 12:30 I woke Steve up, called the midwife. 12:45, 12:50 I spoke to the midwife again. The midwife arrived at 1:30 a.m. and Steve woke Chloe Marie up, our 14-year-old, at 1:30 a.m. And I believe she started doing the candles. And did you do, oh, she was getting the pots of water to boil for the tub, so we could keep water temperature. And then the second assistant midwife arrived at 2 a.m. And I didn't even know that my midwife had arrived or the assistant because I was zoned out in bed. So Chloe kept track of those for me. I did open my eyes and did see her and lightly heard her, and she wanted to check baby and everything after she had set up some of her things. So I knew that was going on in the background. And then I kept asking, is the tub filled? How much longer for the tub? Is the tub filled? How much longer for the tub? Not knowing where I was in dilation mode or transition or anything like that. I was just feeling the stronger sensation and moaning through my contractions, and I did have music playing. My praise and worship music was playing as well. So a couple of the contractions I had called Steve over, and he was counter pressuring on my low back and rubbing it to take away from the contraction. But pretty much I was just, my goal in my head was to stay focused as possible so I could get in the tub, not knowing how long that was going to take. We were having some water pressure issues, and it just wasn't filling as fast as it normally does. And one of, I don't know, it wasn't a leak, but it just kept, I guess, maybe there must have been a leak, but it just kept kind of slowly deflating. So then they had to keep doing that. It didn't interfere with labor or anything at all, but it was something that they were constantly having to do. And so I was just trying to hold my mind to what I needed to do to stay focused to get to the tub. And so I think, let's see here, Steve and Chloe woke up Brooke, who's 10, and Faith, who's 6. We let the boys all sleep. So they got woken up at about 2:20, and they were going to the bathroom and slowly getting out of bed, but I actually got in the tub or the pool at 2:30. I didn't see them until after I'd already gotten into the pool. So right before the pool, I would say right before 2:30, my midwife said the pool was ready, and I said, okay, great. And I couldn't move almost. It was just such constant contractions. And this is different than what I've had before leading up to it. It was just like a constant pressure. And I said, maybe you should check me. I don't want to get in the pool too soon. Me thinking I'm there. I like to get in the pool about transition because I don't like to get in or out, and I like to stay in it until I push baby out. And so she said it was up to me if I wanted her to. And so I said, yeah, go, let's just find out where I'm at. I've never done this. Let's just see. And so she checked me, and I was 10, engaged, everything. And she's like, you're ready to go. And I couldn't believe it. But when she, of course, touched me, I had a whole bunch of pressure. And so I went and sat on the toilet, and I peed and had another bowel movement. And she didn't want me to dally on the toilet so that we wouldn't have a tub birth. So I sat there for as long as I thought that I needed to, and I got up and got in the tub, and it was heavenly. The water was so nice and warm. The tub was spacious, and Steve had laid down a sleeping bag and some pads, and then a tarp underneath so my knees weren't sore or anything. It was so wonderful. And that is where I labored for the next hour and 20 minutes. So I didn't start pushing as soon as I was at a 10, even though I was having contractions. I was letting baby descend on his own. And I hadn't experienced let me think of the initials because I don't want to mess them up. FER, fetal ejection reflex. So I didn't know this was possible. I'd read stories about this, heard about this all over, and I wanted this so bad for my births. And so I really focused on this when I was pregnant with Nathaniel and I was in the tub, to breathe through my contractions as much as possible and resisting the urge to push too soon and letting them come down on their own, letting my body do what it's meant to do. And it is very difficult, but the whole time I'm in the tub, I am praying to God. Like, He is my rock. He is everything. He's keeping my mind focused and centered on Him, my body and what it was created for, just everything. And so that's how I do it. I go very deep inside myself, and I try to breathe through everything and just talk to God. And Him and I are walking along this birthing journey. And so, but what happens is then it kind of slows down after it's so intense. It slows down, and I get contractions 2 to 3 minutes apart, and they last a minute, and still breathing through those until the urge to push comes, or just naturally the baby has worked the baby. Your body naturally works the baby out. So that's what I was working towards, and that's what I was doing, and I was breathing, and I didn't pay attention to my note cards because my eyes were closed. I had them all along the tub area. Didn't pay attention to my note cards whatsoever. I'm glad that I went through them and would affirm them day and night before, because I think they gave me a powerful mind over matter advantage. So that was great. I was prepared for that. I didn't pay attention to my candles being lit. We had the light on low, so everyone could see what was going on. But my diffuser was key, and Steve read my Bible verses. And I did do a video on my Bible verses. So this sheet right here, Steve just read through them nonstop. And then if things slowed down a bit, he would stop, and then when things picked up, I would kind of just move my hand, and he would start right back at it again, reading them nonstop, and I would breathe through my contractions. And then I think the other big thing that made a difference was definitely my diffuser, with the atmosphere and the smell, to stay calm and relaxed. And Steve was reading my Bible verses, and then of course the tub and the warm water was just amazing. But my midwife kept replacing the cold cloths on my forehead, the back of my neck, my chest, whatever position I kept changing into, she was right there. And she was fantastic. I didn't even have to ask for new cloths. Like, she just kept, and that was such a big difference because I was so hot. And working so hard. So I think those things were all part of the tub. And let me see here and check. So I got in the pool at 2:30, worked through that. Okay, one of the things that I've always wanted to, I've always been suggested to feel the baby's head as the baby's coming down, and I've never done it. But in the pool, I didn't even know that I would do that. I just instinctively, as I could feel him kicking like the top of my uterus, I could feel him stretching and like twisting into position. It was amazing. That's that reflex, and that was my body and him working together to get him down. And you could just see my belly moving as I was going through this process. Oh, just a minute. Here he is. This is Ezekiel, everyone. Say hi, buddy. Say hi. I was just talking about you. Yes, I was. So, I could feel him and my body working together, how God designed for him to come down. And I instinctively just put my hand inside my vagina so I could see where his head was. I was just curious as the process was happening. And I could feel him. And if you've done this before, great for you. I had not, and it is amazing. amazing. So I could feel his head, and I could feel like his little hair on top, and I could feel the bag of waters like it was a little bulge, so my water hadn't broke yet. And when I went to like feel it, it was just very thick. And so I was just curious on how I could feel that. I don't know. It's amazing how you can do that. But I felt the bag, I felt his head, and so I just would rub it. And so then I started thinking, wow, he is really close to being in my arms. And it was just so beautiful. So I just kept feeling his head and working through my contractions. I was on all fours, I was on my knees, I sat back a little bit, just whatever felt better at the moment. That's kind of what position I was in. And truly, one of the things that I love the most about that is when I felt his head. It was like feeling him on the inside and feeling him on the outside, and knowing that he was going to be here soon. Birth is so beautiful. So I just love that part, you guys. I just love that part where I could feel him and be like, this is mama, I'm right here, come into my arms, let's do this. And so then when I did have the urge to start pushing, I just bared down, and I ended up keeping my hand there so I could, when I pushed, I could feel his head against my hand. And that really helped, like a counter pressure, but it also helped me because I wanted to catch him. I've had 2 other water births and I didn't catch my babies. They were much bigger and it took a lot more force and energy for me to get them out. And so I didn't know how big he was going to be, but I felt powerful in those moments of being able to do that. So I still can't believe he's here. He's just so beautiful, and God is so good. So I just kept asking God to help deliver me from the moment and to let me meet my little baby boy. And I thanked God, because it was a different experience. There was pain, but everything was tolerable. Like, God was so merciful and so gracious to me. I wish I could give you my experience, because I didn't know that it would be like that. And I'm sure being at home in my safe environment and having these midwives who cared about my health, and that's even so much more I want to say about them as well. So I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over you guys. So back to his actual delivery. I was pushing against my hand, and I was sitting back on my bum at this point, and my midwife had suggested that I roll or rotate my pelvis to help get him as much room as possible. And so I did do that. And yeah, I did do that. So let me go back to this. 2:30 I went into the pool, and I started pushing at 3:50 a.m. So I pushed with the first contraction, and I could feel his head come down a great deal. I felt like that first big push I had, I could feel his head come almost all the way to the opening. And then I waited for my next contraction that came at 3:52, and I was able to push his head out. And then I waited for that next contraction as his body rotated, and at 3:54 his body came out, and it was within those 3 pushes that he was born, and it was amazing. I know when I've pushed before, it's been bear down, bear down, bear down, bear down, push, 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 push. It wasn't like that with this. It was so beautiful and so controlled, and I'm not saying that there wasn't pain, because there was, but it was something different. I don't know if it was more self-control. I don't know. I really feel that it was the presence of God, because I prayed to him and prayed to him, and Ezekiel's name means God's strength, and it wasn't my strength, and I had a hard, long, exhausting pregnancy, and God delivered me from that and gave so much beauty and love. And I was like a warrior, a victorious warrior in my birth. It was wonderful. And so my hands were down there, and I was able to push him pretty much through my hands. And so then when I felt his head and his shoulders, I was able to pick him up. Do you like that part? Do you like that part of the story? I like that part. I like that part. There's so many favorite parts. That's a favorite part too. But so I was able to lift him up, and instead of bringing him right to my chest, like I've done before, someone's handed them to me, is because I've been so exhausted. I actually wanted to see me bring him up out of the water, and I wanted to see his face, and I wanted to look at him. And so I just held him in the water and between my like knees and my body, and just looked at him, and he was so perfect. Not perfect in himself, but perfect in the creation that God made. He's just so beautiful, and he started to cry right away. His lungs were nice and clear. He just was beautiful, and it was amazing. Wasn't it? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I've never had an experience like that, and I don't know that I ever will. So it was my fastest labor and delivery. It was the most amazing, and it was at home, and I'm so thankful, because there were lots of times where I wanted to give in to fear and worry, and just Satan was attacking me and what to do and what was right. And every step of the way, God gave me that peace to trust him, and especially the chaos with my midwife. Like with my first midwife ditching me at 37 weeks, and 2 weeks later, my second midwife had gotten COVID, was quarantined, was really sick, and I only met her one time before I actually went into labor. And so it was completely God's blessing and provision that he went before me and took care of us, and that I was with who I was supposed to be. There is no doubt that I know our midwife was a huge role of that. She just expressed such a testimony in that. Okay. So 3:54 he was born. Ezekiel weighed 8 pounds 12 ounces. His head circumference was 13.5 centimeters. His chest, was 14 inches, and he was 21 inches long, and he loved sticking out his tongue. Chloe noted that, so I'm going to say that. When he was born, he just loved sticking out his tongue. After he was born, and I looked at him, and everybody was looking at him, with that last push, I closed my eyes, and the girls were on the bed facing me. And when I opened my eyes, and I had brought him up, and I just looked over, and there's Faith, 6, just peering over the tub in pure anticipation and excitement. And as soon as I brought him out of the water, she's like, "Can I touch him? Can I touch him?" And she was so excited. She was picking off vernix, which he was born with quite a bit of vernix. And then so she was super excited. Of course, the big girls, Berkey was crying, and everyone was just so excited. And Steve kept saying how handsome and how beautiful he was, and he really is. So it was just awesome. The midwives left me in the pool, and I had decided I wanted to pass the placenta in there so it would be less messy in water versus my bed. But then he kept wanting to nurse, and the water level was right at my breast, so I decided to get out. And then right before I got out, I had a strong contraction, and the placenta was delivered before I got out of the pool. And I got into bed and was nursing him, and as we did our things, our midwives were wonderful. They gave us our space, they cleaned up, they started doing their stuff, and I think after an hour or so, I'm not sure the time, Steve and I were in the bedroom together with him, just talking about God's goodness and how he was so amazing and marvelous are his works, right? And how fearfully and wonderfully made that Ezekiel was. We are just in awe. And so we were talking about that, how life and birth is precious. And so yeah, we got our time together. Then they came in and they checked my uterus and my bleeding and my blood pressure, my vitals. And then we did Ezekiel. We weighed him and they did their checks, and he had 2 9s for his APGAR scores. And Faith Ann cut the cord, and this was just all at home. We didn't have to go anywhere. It was the kindness, the sophistication, the wisdom that came from my midwife. She gave the kids, we made a placenta print on canvas. She gave the kids a placenta tour, and I mean, they've shown us the placenta before at the hospital, but she went into depth for like the cells and the sacs and the cord. We could see where he had twisted the cord, like where she said it looked almost like he was spinning, and I swear that's what he was doing when I had started. Like, he was spinning, like he was really trying to help, huh? You're trying to get out and come see Mama, and you're trying to get out. Yeah, she just explained so many things on a scientific and God created way that was so beautiful. And she was kind and she was authoritative without being disrespectful. It was amazing. I can't say that I would never do a hospital birth again, because if there was a risk to me or my baby, I would definitely have a hospital birth. But by choice, I would always choose a home birth if I ever have the blessing of carrying again, and hopefully choosing and keeping and having the same midwife that I have now. Not only is my midwife super educated and loving and just above and beyond, she also provides other services. So like the lactation consultant came out to the house 3 days after he was born. She checked on me that night and just like text, how are you doing? How is he doing? What's this? Or if you have a concern, you know, in between our visits. And so I really feel like it was a dream. It was so beautiful. It was a perfect ending to our story. What do you think? He's here. We did want to live record or video the birth, but because it went so fast and I could not do anything other than be on the toilet, Chloe did take pictures, so I'm going to put a video slideshow together of the birth, of that, but we didn't get the video done because I was supposed to set up the camera and everything, and she was going to control it, but I didn't get a chance to do that. So I'm thankful that there's pictures, and even if there weren't pictures, like the memory and imprint that it has put on my heart is more beautiful than a video could ever be, because it will never replace it. I'm just so thankful that God gave me that opportunity. It's like connecting with him in a way that I've never connected before. Honestly, just when I pray and talk to him through those contractions, it's honestly like I feel like he just wraps himself up in me, and I know that I don't have to fear about anything. And it should be like that all the time, but just especially with birth, I think there's so many things happening that being able to see life and love come together is really beautiful and amazing. And I feel like I keep saying those words a lot, but it's so true, and I wish there were other words. I wish I had a better vocabulary, and I wasn't scrambled with thinking about those things, because God is truly amazing, and I feel like he needs to be praised through all of this. He brought me through. I knew that he would. I trusted him, and he was faithful and good to fulfill those promises. My Bible verses brought me so much comfort, and then to just be in his presence was awesome. So I think that's it for labor and delivery, you guys. There's other things. I didn't know when I wanted to do this. I don't know when I'll even get it edited and put up. But I had engorgement issues for like a day and a half, and then I thought I had 2 milk ducts, one on each side, clogged, and then the left breast ended up getting mastitis, and I had the clogged duct and then 2 infected spots on my left breast. So we have went through some rough days and very awful nights. Last night was the worst night. I cried all the way through it. I cried out to God, and it was very rough and very painful. And for you women, I've had 8 babies that I've nursed, and I've never gotten mastitis until this one. And it was awful, and I'm still working through those stages of coming out of that. So we're working hard on breastfeeding and everything, but we're just going to take it day by day and rest and be blessed, because that's what God has called us to at the moment. And so thank you guys so much for your love and support. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up.